close today, Thursday. Okay, a bit of a revival for shares today after that morning slump earlier in the session in the first part of trade. As you can see in this chart right here, a sell-off ensued after government decided to maintain GCQ with heightened restrictions in NCR until mid-August. A number of areas also placed under stricter curbs like ECQ and MECQ. Investors, however, bought stocks after that low of 6,442, with shares rising steadily until 6,500. But a last-minute sell-off pared back those gains, bringing the PSEI to a 6,496 close, still up 0.4%. Now, a quick look at our leaders and laggards. A number of stocks set to be affected by the restrictions still made some gains today. We're looking at mall operators Ayala Land and Robinson's Land. As you can see here, Ayala Land is up 3.2%. Robinson's Land also gaining close to 1.75%. We also have retailer Robinson's Retail in the green here, up 0.9%. But also you have a restaurant operator Jollibee also in the positive territory. But more news coming from the B. You have 120 stores in West Malaysia in 10 years' time. That's going to start next year. It's a unit. Golden Plate inked an agreement with B-Works Investment. They will form a unit that will operate Jollibee stores, including those in Kuala Lumpur. That venture is valued at $8 million, with Golden Plate having a 30% stake. Overall, Jollibee already has a network of 885 stores in Southeast Asia, excluding the Philippines. Our favorite B capped off Thursday at 197 apiece. That's a rise of 3.4%. But it's Emperador, which made a stellar jump today on top of the leaderboard here. That's after the liquor maker reported that net income in the first 6 months of the year rose 53% year on year on the back of easing restrictions here and abroad. We're talking here of a net income of 5.1 billion pesos, with revenues also growing by 18% to 25.3 billion pesos. President Wilson Ko said they see their brandy unit led by Fundador growing by double digits in Western markets like the US, the UK and Canada, as well as the Philippines and the rest of Asia. He said their whiskey segment also continues to pace strongly. It's a good showing for Emperador today, surging 7.5% to 13 pesos and 70 a share, its best close yet since 2013. Now, outside the bourse, let's do a health check on the peso. That's after BSP Governor Ben Jokno said that the BSP is maintaining a flexible foreign exchange policy, saying that it will provide a buffer against external shocks. He says the local unit's weakness is tracking declines in other regional currencies, but still relatively stable compared to trading partners. He says the peso will be supported by structural forex flows, including remittances and outsourcing revenues. Looking at how our local currency is doing today, as you can see here, showing a bit of a strength here, strengthening a touch to 50 spot 340 to the greenback. Here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. The World Bank is providing the country $280 million to finance rural development programs. The multilateral and the Philippine government recently signed the loan deal equivalent to 14 billion pesos to boost farm and fishery production in select provinces. The deal also includes a grant worth 18 million euros from the European Union. Agriculture Secretary William Dar says the loan agreement had been signed in time for the second phase of the rural development program that's set to start next month. A select number of residents in enhanced community quarantine areas will receive cash assistance worth 1,000 pesos. The government approved the cash aid with up to 4 family members per household being qualified to receive the cash aid. The palace says this is open for people in need living in ECQ areas. These are Iloilo Province, Iloilo City, Cagayan de Oro, and Hinguog City in Misamis Oriental. Over in Metro Manila, local chief executives are open to a 2-week ECQ as long as cash assistance will be available. NCR mayors say stricter quarantine measures may be needed to counter the spread of the Delta variant in the country. But the Trade Department thinks otherwise, saying a return to ECQ may again force business closures. Trade Secretary Mon Lopez says the GCQ with heightened restrictions is so far still working and containing the spread of the more infectious variant. And some updates. Okay, before we get to our guests here, we still have some more developments here on the COVID-19 Delta variant. You have the health department recording 97 new cases of the more transmissible variant. Okay, 94 of them have already recovered, while the other three have died. That's according to the DOH. Now, of the 97 cases, 88 were local cases, 6 were returning overseas Filipinos or ROFs, while the remaining 3 have yet to be verified. Of the 6 ROFs, 2 were from the seafarers of MT Clyde and barge Claude, currently anchored off in Albay, while 4 are crew members of MV Vega that arrived from Indonesia. The new figure brings the total Delta variant caseload in the country to 216. Now, with that development coming in, what are the odds that a stricter restriction will be put in place in Metro Manila? You have Metro Manila mayors set to meet with the IATF regarding that, but while that's pending, let's find out where one of our biggest exporters stand on this issue. We have on the show Dan Lachica, president of the Semiconductor and Electronics Industries in the Philippines, or SEIPI. Good afternoon, Sir Dan.
Good afternoon, Jes, and your viewers. How are you?
Okay, doing good, sir. Question now is, what's for sure now is that you have NCR placed under GCQ with heightened restrictions until mid-August, but NCR mayors want to appeal for an ECQ at least over the next 2 weeks. Where do you stand in this matter?
Well, I heard about the Metro Manila or MMDA memorandum, and there were like 8 cities that signed up recommending the ECQ. I would agree with Secretary Lopez at this point. I mean, I understand we share the view of the public and the mayors that we are concerned about the spread of the Delta Lambda. Everybody is, but I think we need to approach this with some tempered views, in the sense that if we just because for our industry, our companies are actually seeing very few infections because of the strict disciplines, the protocol, and also even our shuttle buses, they're well controlled, they're very clean, and so in our minds, the heightened GCQ would work. Our concern really would be for the unrestricted or unimpeded flow of materials as well as people. And we also have members in Cebu, which is actually in modified ECQ, right? So we're trying to understand what the implication of that is. But as far as NCR is concerned, we do have some member companies in the NCR area, in particular in Bicutan and Parañaque. Most of our members are in Region 4A. But nonetheless, our materials coming from the ports will be affected if we implement prematurely too restrictive quarantine measures such as an ECQ. So we just need to proceed cautiously with our eyes open and make sure that we're watching the data and let our decisions be data driven. So that's where we stand at this point. Yes.
But Sir Dan, you have some corners here, at least of the opinion that it's better to enforce stricter lockdowns now rather than wait for cases to increase in the future and eventually enforce a lockdown which comes, say, in the fourth quarter wherein economic activity is high. What's your reaction to that?
Well, we agree with stricter enforcement today. That is because, at least August, it's a relatively dead month, rather than putting the restrictions in Q4, where everybody is trying to catch up with year's sales and everything. But I guess the point is, let's look at the data. Okay, we're already going to implement this stricter, heightened GCQ. Let's monitor and see how it goes, because the concern really is if we make a decision that probably is an overreaction, well, I can't say it's an overreaction at this point, but if it's not a measured decision based on data, we might be shooting ourselves in the foot again. As it is right now, our multinational members, well, last year when we went into the ECQ, we transferred 10 to 15 of our volumes to facilities outside the Philippines, and we can't recover that. And if we go to another round like that, then that's not going to be good for the economy, for the
Mhm.
commodity export. So, we're obviously we're going to support the measures to protect our citizens and control the Delta variant increase or the spread, but let's base it on data. Let's implement this heightened GCQ today. Let's monitor the progress and let's act accordingly. I mean, if it turns out that it's not working, then let's consider an ECQ. But let's base our decisions on facts, on data.
Would you say as well that it would be more applicable at this stage to at least go for a more targeted approach here, more industry specific?
Well, when you say industry specific, I guess where the exposure of the public is high. Is that what you mean, Jess? Just to
Exactly, sir.
clarify.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, certainly. Because, like I said earlier, for the electronics industry, the environment, the protocols, the measures are very strict. That's why our infection rate is very low.
Mm-hmm.
For other industries, I guess again, let's base it on data. Let's base it on the infection rate, the number of people that are affected, and so on. It's always good to base our decisions on information and facts and data.
Mm-hmm. Now, is the Delta scare as well as the probability of stricter curves going to affect your growth targets? Last time we talked, you're still set on that 7% goal.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct. And we're still holding on to that. But again, it just depends on we had a scare a couple of weeks ago when BIR introduced the Revenue Regulation 09-2021, which would impose a 12% VAT on our domestic suppliers, because what multinationals would have done was to transfer the volumes outside, and that will, in our assessment, in our survey, we were anticipating like a $600 million loss for our domestic companies, and even a 10,000 increase in unemployment. So we appreciate DOF and BIR reconsidering that and actually releasing Revenue Regulation 15-21 that suspends it, the collection of the VAT, I mean. And we also thank DTI and PEZA and the Senate and Congress, especially Congressman Salceda in his Ways and Means Committee. He was able to convince DOF and BIR to suspend that revenue regulation. So it's things like this that could also affect the export level, the growth level that we were projecting. But of course, with government's help, we're still looking forward to the availability of vaccines, especially in the LGUs in the provinces where most of our members are, the electronics companies are.
And very quickly, since you mentioned it, how's your vaccination rollout for the sector?
Well, the good news is most of our workers are embracing the idea of being vaccinated. I think what the government has done, the private sector has done in terms of encouraging people to get vaccinated, the advantages of being vaccinated. Even with PA Joey and Go Negosyo, I've spoken a couple of times in the program. And basically, we put the onus on people to, of course, protect themselves first, protect their families, protect the people around them, and in essence, protecting the economy. So we've seen an increase in the interest for vaccination. Now the challenge really is to making the vaccines available. We've seen deliveries, AstraZeneca, Moderna, of course, Sinovac, but we need more. We need more. So we're looking forward for the COVAX deliveries and additional vaccines from different sources.
Okay, of course, SEIPI, one with the rest of the country in awaiting more vaccine supply there. Again, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. SEIPI President, Sir Dan Lachica. Thank you, Sir Dan.
Thank you for having me, Jess. Good afternoon, everyone.
And those are the biggest stories this trading day, July 29, 2021. Catch Business World Live again tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jes Delos Santos, and we are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.